Ed Logan.
The hour being 5:30, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Chief Fisher, are you ready to start your list? Thank you.
Thank you for seeing me this evening. There's a few things I want to go over with the board. First, and I think most exciting, is we had we'd advertised for some lieutenant positions, both on the fire side and the EMS side, and we had a 5 candidates apply in total. The officers met with the candidates and came up with the people we wanted to move forward as lieutenants. So I'd like to bring them forward before the Board of Selectmen as some recognition and some PR, if you will. These promotions will take effect September 1st. We have Dorian Shibahoo, who will be the EMS lieutenant, and Richard Butler will be the new lieutenant on the fire side of things.
Great.
Stand up.
Come on up.
Congratulations.
Come on up so we can get you on camera.
Yes.
Yeah, come on, Doreen, come up and,
Anything you guys want to say?
come right up to here.
Rob?
Come on up. Board.
Start right there.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations to you, too.
Thank you, Rich.
Thanks for all you do.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Dorian.
My friend. You bet, dear. Thank you.
Did a good job.
Good choice.
You can stay if you like. I will stay. So a few of the things we have, last time I came, I approached the board about surplusing or donating the old air packs that we had. We were able to donate them to the town of Milan, New Hampshire. I had to look that up. Apparently it's up near Berlin.
Yep.
We had 8 air packs, 16 spare bottles, 11 face pieces that went with the older style air packs that we have phased out. They were very appreciative. It actually went, I heard the next day, once our vendor Firematic had come and they were helping me with that. He emailed the chief that night, and the chief was all about it. So there'll be hopefully some good use for that community who might be a little less fortunate than we are. So that was big. John's been helping me work on a RFP for replacing the cascade system in the firehouse, which was one of the things on the Primex report. So that's going to be something we're going to be advertising and rolling out in the near future. When those bids do come back, I'll probably be looking for the board's approval to do something similar with the existing cascade system. It is a bit limited. You know, the cascade system itself only generates up to 4,500 PSI, which is where our maximum pressure in the bottles are now, which is one of the reasons why we're looking to upgrade, as well as use the containment system that we have now to keep, if there was ever a mishap or a bottle were to explode, keep the firefighter or EMT who's filling the spare bottle from being injured. So with the board's approval, I don't know where we'd find, you know, it'd obviously be as is, where is, you know, no liability back to the town, but if there's a department out there who, you know, can't fill their own spare bottles one way or another, they may be interested in it. So certainly like to see it repurposed.
Do we need a motion for that, or
Not yet.
just an agreement to?
Yeah, we don't,
But he's
I don't have
gonna
any
do
other
the-
lined up or anything at this point, so. During the World War II event, we ended up having a fuel leak on the Tahoe. Brought it to Banks to get looked at, and right around state inspection time, that rolled into a whole list of things that I'd be passing in for Pete to pay, to the tune of about $2,500. One of the things that Banks found when they dropped the fuel tank to repair the fuel lines and whatever was leaking, they found a hole in the frame, which they were able to repair. but the Tahoe itself is probably getting to the end of its usable service life. Has about 160,000 miles on it, 4,000 hours, and is starting to show significant body rust. Earlier in the year, we had to replace the brake lines and a few gas tank straps on it. So this year, we're looking probably around $4,500 so far we've put into it. I'm not sure what the selectmen's feelings are would be replacing it. I know Mark brought it up 4 years ago, and that did not fly, so I don't know what guidance you folks might have to getting that replaced.
That'd be a warrant article?
Yeah, I think we should look towards replacing it either as a warrant article or as fire equipment, whichever,
Yeah.
you know, I guess
Okay.
you and us think is
It had a
most
lot less
tenable.
miles on it 4 years ago.
It was probably 4 years better shape, so.
Yeah, so now it's time.
Okay. I'll try to get some information together on what things are going for and what the state bid is for a replacement, equivalent vehicle. I had Ray meet me over at the station last week, look at a few things. The roof on the back of the station, if you will, the smaller half where the hose tower, generator room, and rescue bay is starting to leak pretty well, to the point where there's some significant black mold in the generator room. I'd like to probably see about getting that addressed and taken care of sooner than later. The plan is to, when we can get the generator out of there, the highway department's going to be taking the generator, and that's going to become more of a secured or shut-off room for the EMS equipment. And then where the EMS equipment is now, where the rescue van used to be, will become the PPE room, if you will. Try to keep all the structural gear and whatnot out of the exhaust as much as we can for our members' safety and health. So that is kind of a pretty important room back there and area, so I'd like to see that fixed one way or another. And
You can get us a bid on the roof
okay, we can work on that.
with Ray?
What is the roof?
I don't know.
Metal,
Metal roof?
yeah. I'm assuming
Andrew.
it's original.
Does there need to be any remediation for the mold, do you think, or can that just be cleaned up and roof repaired?
I don't know. I had some technical difficulties this evening getting some pictures printed off that I had taken. And that probably would have shed some light on the condition that we have. But if anybody's around for breakfast
I'll
on
take a look
Saturday
at
at
it
the
with
firehouse,
Saturday.
it's, open up the door and you can take a look at it.
Okay.
Might not put you in the mood for breakfast, but
After breakfast?
yeah. Breakfast is between 7 and 11 at the firehouse. Gonna have it downstairs. I'm gonna pull some trucks out like we did a number of years ago and have all the tables there for everybody, so who's ever around is more than welcome to come down.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that was...
Do you want to?
Oh, the last thing, I was able to make one successful email, if you will, to John, who printed off a picture of the Connex box storage unit out back behind the firehouse.
We have it.
Not sure how we want to address cleaning that out. Because once stuff comes out, I really don't want to put it back in, and I don't know how we want to handle surplusing or salvaging, getting rid of things.
What would you do with old hose?
I believe the majority of that hose probably hasn't been hose tested, or it did and it failed. So 3-inch hose is not something we use anymore. I know in the past it's been given away to townspeople for their docks. So we can
Right.
certainly advertise that, and that's how I would look to get rid of the hose.
Okay.
But the old garage doors that are in there came off South Station when that was refurbished before we got engine 4. So as for the fire department, we don't have a use for them. I don't know if there's another town building that might want some doors, or if it's,
Don't know already.
I really don't know what's in there, because as you can tell, it's kind of a wall of stuff.
I guess. Jeez.
Yes, Andy.
Yeah, I would think anything usable like the hose that there might be an interest in, we should get rid of, and the rest of it, we should probably make arrangements with the transfer station to
Yeah.
dispose of. Particularly if we've got some metal or maybe some value at Harding's.
I'm sure you've seen this.
My rescue tires are in there.
We'll keep those.
They're in the back, I think.
Way back.
Is there a day, maybe on a weekend, we could If I set up a work detail to kind of pull things out and maybe have a selectman or two kind of there to review things before we dispose of it.
Maybe a week from Saturday? We got enough going on this Saturday.
Yeah, it might not be that quick. I was just wondering how we wanted
Sure,
to
just
handle
let
that.
us know.
You know,
We'll
arrange a
come-
time for, 2 or 3 of you to be
down.
there and, okay. Because the hose tower is almost the same condition as that, so I'd like to go through things all at once if I could.
Okay. You want to talk about your compressor? Well,
Sure. So, update on that. Since we were deciding to move forward with the company and that specific compressor unit, they no longer sell that brand due to long lead times. And the compressor that they would would alternate that with ends up being splash lubricated, not pressure lubricated. And I am certainly not an expert on compressors, but from what Ray told me and Rick Pelletier, we want to stick with pressure lubricated, so I'm almost back to square one.
so this maintenance service contract won't be acted on tonight?
No.
Okay, good.
Because if this company only provides a splash lubricated compressor these days, I don't think that's someone we want to go with. After Ray's and Rick's recommendations, I think we want to stick with the pressure lubricated. So, the nice thing about these folks is that they would be able to provide a service plan for the compressor at South Station, Central Station, as well as offer installation. So,
Good.
but there's going to be other companies. I just have to track another one down.
Good. Are you going to stay here for a while?
I can, yes.
Okay.
We'll ask him now.
You get that? Gordon? Basically, this is July 16th to Chairman Barry. I'm ready to reference the forest fire warden position in the town of Deerfield. I received a letter of resignation from Mark Tibbetts effective July 16th. With his resignation, the position of forest fire warden for the town of Deerfield is now vacant. At this time, I'm requesting the town of Deerfield to recommend an individual for the appointment of this position. I guess that's the selectman's job.
Yeah.
We had talked the last meeting a little bit about this, and I think my comment was that before we recommend anyone, we should really run it by the fire chief, even if it is our responsibility. I didn't know what your thoughts were. I know at a time you had expressed an interest in being the forest fire warden. Understanding that you could be the forest fire warden and there could be other forest fire wardens, but
Or deputies.
deputies or special.
I think the fire chief being the forest fire warden probably makes things the cleanest. I wasn't in any rush to, see Mark removed earlier in the year just because he was in the last year of his term. Moving forward, it would probably be the simplest thing to have the fire chief with the forest fire warden. Since Mark stepped down, the phone that he had has been passed around between the other deputy wardens to answer calls for permits and such, and they've been filling in with issuing seasonal permits and whatnot. So I think whatever backlog we had with that work has been taken care of. The responsibilities of the warden with any sort of financial paperwork, if there was a fire that we have to bill the responsible party or anything like that, I think that's cleanest if it is the fire chief at the same time, because ultimately that's would be another person who has some fiscal control or could,
So if nominated tonight, you would accept it?
yes.
Any other questions from the board or comments?
You want a motion at this point?
That's
Nomination.
next.
Oh, okay. Next is now?
Yep.
I'll make a motion to nominate Matt Fisher as the fire warden for town of Deerfield.
Second.
Second by Jeff. Motion by Fred, second by Jeff. Any other discussion?
I can talk about it.
Matt, do you think you have time for this?
I think with the past month, it's been the deputy wardens have been helping me with answering all the calls for the permits and such. So in regards to that aspect, I think so. You know, the things looking forward that I'd like to see bring to the town would be the online permitting. And I've approached a business in town of becoming, or the owner of the business becoming an issuing agent to allow, you know, a few more options for people to get their permits. In regards to answering calls for unpermitted burns, police department calls me now anyway, so that doesn't.
Fred?
To address the motion, I've always felt that the warden should be the chief, and this certainly fixed the model that I have in my mind as being what it should be for the town.
I remember when we asked Matt to consider being chief, like he said, he didn't want to take it on at the time, but if he just answered Cindy's question that he will, so.
Of course, if it continues raining, I think we'll never have a forest fire in town, but
Okay, anybody else? All in favor of the motion of Matt Fisher being the fire warden?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
I have another question on that. Does, have we heard back from Diane, the recommendation of Diane and Adam?
Speaking with Diane, she got a letter back to she is appointed as a deputy warden. She has not received, basically you got a ID card, if you will, from the state. So she has not received that, and I don't believe she has received a plate. They no longer do badges, but I know her paperwork has come back, and I can't speak to Adams, but I know there was some delay on their processing, so I would imagine that might have caused it on this end. Which unfortunately, with that delay, they missed the spring training sessions, which is helpful for new deputy wardens to attend.
All set? Thank you.
Do you still need me to hang out?
Good to go. Just want to make sure about that compressor, which you're gonna,
Yeah, so that's something else to, I'll be back.
thank you for all you do. Review of outstanding minutes from July 30th, 2018.
I've moved the minutes of July 30th, 2018 as presented.
Second.
Moved by Andy, seconded by Jeff. Any corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next is the payroll manifest for 8/13/2018. Gross payroll, $71,680.01, with a net payroll of $57,166.80.
I would move as read.
Second.
Moved by Andy, seconded by Fred. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Accounts payable manifest, $500,000 going to the school, with the balance being $529,146.42.
I would move as read.
Second.
Moved by Andy, second by Fred. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have a land use change tax from David and Tina Morse, 7 Woodcrest Drive, map 414, lot 46, $350.
I would make a motion that we collect our land use tax change fee.
Second.
Motion by Andy, second by Fred. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? The second land use change tax is Robert and Kylie Ronay, 163 Mount Delight Road, map 411, lot 41, $210.
I'll make a motion, we collect our land tax fee.
Second.
Motion by Fred, second by Jeff, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Thank you. Next item is a timber levy on Courtney Stock and Stephen Stock, map 410, lot 54, Mount Delight Road, $181.32.
I would make a motion that we collect our timber tax as presented.
Second.
Second by Jeff, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item is the outside detail contract. This serves to set forth the terms of contract for outside detail contract services provided by the Deerfield Police, Deerfield, New Hampshire, and the contractor being Deerfield Fair Association, 34 Stage Road. General law enforcement and crowd control. The dates are September 26th through September 30th, 2018 this year. The charge per officer will be $40 an hour, plus either $8.95, $5.73, or $3.22 for administrative costs payable to the town of Deerfield.
I would make a motion that we approve and accept the detail contract for police presence at the Deerfield Fair.
Second.
Made by Andy, second by Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next item is personal action request, and it involves the Parks and Recreation summer camp staff. Jeff, would you like to speak on that?
Sure. Nick and John have been working for several months on putting together a salary scale. And you guys all have a copy of it. One change to make sure that at the top it says year 1, year 2, year 3, that's step 1, step 2, step 3, that's not years. And what this is showing you is a salary wage scale for 1%, 1.5%, 2%, and 3%. And I believe what we're asking, what Nick has been asking for his staff is the 3% line. And what this does is it brings people up to a hourly wage that's almost comparable to neighborhood towns.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable moving on that. To my mind, those hourly rates are still fairly low, starting at $8.
And also to clarify that step 1 through 7 is a yearly step. 8, 9, and 10 are 2 years.
Okay.
11, 12, and on.
2 years after.
Okay.
Why don't I read off the names and get one vote for everything?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
And just to piggyback on this too, we're also in the process of doing an organizational chart for Parks and Rec. I brought it to our last commission meeting and presented it for people to look at. In our next commission meeting, we'll vote on it. At the last commission meeting, we voted on this wage scale and approved it too.
Okay, so it's all been approved. First one is Morgan Mahoney, summer camp staff. The new rate will be $9.84 an hour. Haley Stevens, summer camp staff, $9.84 an hour. Victoria Gibson, $12.46 per hour. Greg Berkland, summer camp after-school supervisor, $14.26. He's the lead supervisor of the summer camp. Carrie
Furtado.
Furtado,
Furtado?
Yes. $12.10 per hour. Phil McPherson, summer camp, after-school staff supervisor, $11.26. Liam Riley, summer camp staff, $10.44. Caitlin Comier, $10.44. Hannah Mason, summer camp after-school supervisor, $12.10. Deb Tranfil, $18.
Just to clarify too, this is all revolving fund money. This is not budget money.
I guess the budget, the motion needs to be that I sign them. There's only one spot.
I'll make a motion that the chairman sign the wage action request as read
For Parks and Rec.
for Parks and Rec.
Second.
Second by Fred.
If I could, I'd note that some of those names on there, at least a couple of those people have been here for at least a decade, maybe better than a decade. So
Wow. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I'll sign them after. Town Administrators Report.
I have several items tonight. One is, I've been contacted by the Pleasant Lake Preservation Association, John Duffy, in an email, again, looking for a letter of support from the Board of Selectmen to work on fixing the runoff off of Route 107, entering the lake at the south end. As I get more information, he's going to be sending that to me, or maybe coming in to speak to the board. You'll hear more detail on, yes.
just, I'm trying to recollect, but didn't we draft and sign a letter of support at the initial onset when they were seeking grant money or matching money for this?
North End.
Yeah, it was my understanding this is different,
Okay.
another
Yeah.
This
request.
will be down by Willow Lane, Seymour's Land.
Okay.
All state involvement, instead of being a state road where Gulf Road was town.
Where the
Right.
little brook comes under there.
Yes, right.
Yeah, okay.
So I can schedule time for John to come in and present to the board. If I think that would clarify a lot of
If you
things.
find the other one, it may well serve as a suitable draft copy to.
Okay. Secondly, the road agent wanted to let the board know that roadside mowing has begun. The vendor will be in town.
I saw that today about 4 minutes after I asked John when roadside mowing was gonna start.
I saw him today, too.
Okay.
Was he mowing already?
He was mowing.
Yep, looked good.
And lastly, I wanted to alert the board that at the last meeting, I was asked if cooperation was improving between the town and our vendor contractor for mowing. And at the time, I said, yes, it had, but unfortunately, I'm back to report that it has not only worsened, but seemed to have ceased. So at this time, I'm looking for recommendations from the board on how to proceed. This week, starting today, Ray, with the assistance of someone from Parks and Rec, finished all the town mowing, since we're right before Old Home Day, just to get the grounds in shape. But we probably have at least 2 more months of mowing to do, and we need to get someone in place to fulfill the rest of the mowing season. And I have Ray here if you have any questions for him. He's been working most closely with the current vendor.
I'll start. I think we need to terminate him immediately and get the next highest bidder working on this. There's water holes that haven't been touched yet this year. It's kind of embarrassing. Nothing to do with our people, but this guy just hasn't worked out, so I don't know if Ray could get in touch. If the rest of the board agrees, we'll discuss it and have Ray handle it. Andy?
Yeah, I would agree, and I don't recollect who the next highest bidder was. I think it might have been Mark. And I don't know if Mark will have any interest in talking with us at this stage of the game, but I think if he's the next highest bidder, I would certainly feel comfortable reaching out to Mark and would feel confident that he would know exactly what would need to be done. I'm thinking of the other commercial contractors at this point in the season. The guys I've talked with are up to their ears busy and probably would not pick up another person midterm, but
Well, we don't really want to rebid it.
okay, good.
Fred?
Yeah, one thing that I would probably think that we should consider in the future would be, because I don't know if this contract is big enough to be able to require a performance bond, but consider that. Certainly if this guy did not perform, and we did have a performance bond in effect, that we would simply call a bond, and basically the bonding company would hire somebody else to do the work for the price that this guy had bid. And we probably have little recourse but to, under the current contract, just to terminate it and go from there. Hopefully, we have that in the contract, or the ability to be able to do that, which I assume we do.
Do you know, he hasn't been prepaid, correct?
He's only been paid for the work he's done
Okay.
thus far.
Would you be able to contact Mark and review it with him? You certainly don't need to show him what to do. Jeff?
I thought on Mark's contract it was for 2 years.
Yes, that's right.
So do we make, is this to finish this one out and then we're gonna rebid it again?
You guys make the motion.
I think we would have to finish this year and rebid unless the board was, I don't recollect what the exact bid was, but if the board was comfortable, we could, I suppose, grant it for 2 years.
Right.
Might sweeten the deal for Mark.
I think Ray would have to take and check to see if Mark or the other bidder would even be willing to do the work for the price they bid. They are not obligated to take and do the work for those prices, since,
Accept.
yeah.
Head Ray.
Basically, I'll get a hold of them and find out, one, if they have the time to take it on, and two, if they're willing to finish this contract. And with Mark, you said it was a 2-year contract. So would the 2 years be valid, or just finish this year and put it back out to bid?
Go ahead, Jeff.
I think we should finish this year, because there may be things we have to add to it.
Right.
I know that there's gonna be an idea to do bicentennial on it now and stuff, so,
In Hartford Brook, maybe.
in Hartford Brook maybe, so I would be more comfortable finishing this year and then rebid it.
So, go ahead, Fred.
I know the terms with regard to the bid itself were for 1 year, and it was one of the concerns I had with regard to Mark's bid, that he was not bidding on what we advertised for.
Okay. Well, I guess it's consensus that you check with Mark and see if he will honor his bid.
I will.
On his bid for 1 year, and
Yeah.
for the finishing off this year, I should say.
Right, and he might, in defense of him, he's got a lot of, if he takes it, he's got a lot of work to get it. It's not like he's starting off with a freshly mowed.
Right. And the same with DeRisi. He's a large contractor. He's probably filled his year. I don't know.
Right.
So I can contact Mark and find out where we're at there.
Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I think, it would be nice if we could use what we had in the original bids, but those were the original bids. We didn't accept them, so I would just look towards coming to some reasonable terms.
Yep. Yep, I'll talk it over with him, see where he's at, if he's willing, and we'll go from there, I guess.
How's the board feel? Do we need to wait till the 26th to, if,
Yeah, I think so, and if they come back and say that they're not gonna do the work for what they bid, then we're gonna have to rebid it.
Or take a mower,
Or we'll do what?
or get a mower.
Yeah, each of us,
And
right.
have a selectmen's work session. Get 'em
That was
done.
today. Well,
You get back to us, Ray, with what you find out.
I will, yeah.
You have anything else while you have the mic?
Basically, on Dan, I don't know what happened to him. He just dropped off the face of the earth. I called him in the last 2 weeks over 9 times. Talked to him twice. He said he was coming in the next day, and I said, before you start mowing, you come in my office and see me. I actually had written up a warning letter, and my concerns were in the letter, and I never got a chance to present it to him because he never showed up. And one day he did call and said there was a death in the family, then gonna come in the following Tuesday. He never showed up Tuesday, and then Thursday was his regular mowing day. He didn't show up Thursday. And I called him and left a message, and no return. So I don't know what's going on. I know people who know him, there's a lot of word on the street, but I have nothing to back that up. So as far as I'm concerned, he's just a no-show, and apparently he's done.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
You bet. Thanks for all you do. Unfinished business. New business. Andy?
Yeah, I would note that the police department planning meeting that was scheduled for this evening has been postponed. Hopefully, we'll be able to pick it up next Monday, but I had 4 members that I was in contact with that were not able to attend this evening, so given the
Okay.
size of the committee, it didn't make sense to meet.
Yeah.
Jeff?
Just throw out the reminder of Saturday's Old Home Day,
Great.
breakfast at the firehouse, 7 to
11.
11. And then all sorts of stuff, chicken barbecue at 4:30 with Andrew's famous chicken.
Parks and Rec.
You got enough help, Andy?
I think so.
Okay.
There's a lot of activities going on, and then fireworks, I think at 9 o'clock at the fairgrounds.
Good.
Show up and run. The road
Oh, yeah,
race.
road race,
Yeah.
9 o'clock. Chase Andy.
Anybody else with other or new business? Ready, all set? Cindy, all set?
How's that?
We'll go right into citizens' comments. Mrs. Katie?
Two questions. When you voted for the pay raises, there was a very big Supreme Court decision this year that said pay raises that had not been told to the people could not be given during the year. And even though it comes out of the revolving fund, it actually is coming out of the taxpayers, because the taxpayers are the ones paying for the building and paying for these services that come to the people. So I think that should be looked at as another thing that is put forth to the people at town meeting, what we are paying out of revolving fund. The second point is, when you went through the land use change taxes, you don't say how big the parcel was that the land use change was for. So for instance, if there was an acre of land, backland is taxed to me at over $1,300, and at 10%, it's $130, because the levy is 10% of whatever the value of the land is. If it's a building lot, it's more like $100,000, so it would be a $10,000 current use penalty. But without knowing how big the parcel of land is, I don't know if a proper land use change levy has been figured and what for.
Okay, there's a letter. I did see that there's a letter on the back of each one that's recommended by Avatar, I believe. So
It is.
we'll try to read that.
So you'd recommend reading how big the parcel was?
Sure.
Okay. That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Katie. Doreen?
I'm sorry?
Hi, guys. Hey, I just called my son. He owns Blue Sky Landscaping, and he said he'd finish you guys off for the year on that contract if you wanted for those numbers. And get it done before Old Home Day, too, so. Is Old Home Day just Sunday, you guys?
Saturday.
Just Saturday, though,
Just Saturday, I thought it was Sunday.
unless it rains real hard. Then it's just Sunday.
Well, just so you know, he'll do it. He
We'll
said,
have Ray talk
just to get
him.
it done.
You bet.
All right?
Thank you, Doreen.
Yep.
Any other citizens' comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by
Second.
Andy, second by Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. 6:09.
Came home to a nice surprise, too.